Casino Assist financial system consists of two main platforms. First one is the cage transactions, in which all is about gaming and consequently money is produced, and the other one is finance, in which non-gaming transactions take place. The bridge between these two platforms shortly can be named as account transfer, that can be into both directions, depending on the requirements of both sides. As the paid and received traffic of account transfer must be exactly the same quantities, any mismatch will be detected by Casino Assist on Master Report, that is a combination of both cage and finance platforms. Master Report is the peak report of the system, can be accepted as a cash flow that is cleansed from all the chip and plaque figures except the missing chip values that has an effect on cash quantity. On the cage transaction side, operation is processed and managed by one main cage, an unlimited number of satellite tills, each can operate independently but also link to each other via interim transfers. Any asset triggered from any till automatically takes its place on the other side as addressed. Main cage is specifically authorized for some basic transactions such as live games, table fill and credit, drop count, table floats configuration, etc. as default. But account transactions can also be configured as main cage base. As a result, any user with no main cage access will automatically be unauthorized for main cage level. Finance part has no satellite till feature and configured as one main balance. As one side of finance platform interacts with casino operations through account transfer, in the means of expenses, bank accounts, work advances and etc., on the other side, it interacts with bosses or shareholders and or head office in the case of being a part of a multi-branch hub operation. Let's have a look to some special features of Casino Assist, regarding to its casino cage and finance side. Structure can be configured and modified from system parameters in the means of tills, transactions, categories, denominations, etc. Any kind of chips and plaques, LG tables and table floats, can be added to and removed from system with any currency anytime. The effect of exchange rate changes on all assets such as cash, chips, bank accounts, work advances etc. is calculated automatically and takes place in all financial reports properly. By simplifying most of the transactions thanks to its user-friendly design, Casino can manage high level of complicated workflow by average employees. All transactions are logged as who inserted the transaction at what time and from which computer, as well as the deleted transactions, those are listed separately at the end of the daily balance sheet. Thanks to integration of player tracking system accordingly, double data processing is avoided on many parts. All the required reports are generated automatically as the system captures all the data from all levels. Now, let's see all those descriptions in action. When you are first logging into Cage Transactions form, you will be prompted for picking a till to proceed. This selection will be the data process till, and the other tills will be read-only for you even if you are authorized to navigate. Now, we are on the main cage and the balance is almost zero. Cash and chip denominations and quantities are listed as configured at admin panel and ready to proceed. Any change in quantities will directly affect balance and user will be able to track balance value in real time. A transaction can be described as one-sided cash or chip or plaque trade, meaning if cashier is paying a value in cash or chip or plaque and is not receiving the same value of those assets, then it is called a transaction. Each transaction may require different type of data. All those requirements are configured on admin panel, so the user is forced to enter the data with all the required information. Here is an example for bond transaction. Chips or plaques will be paid to player, but a document will be received instead of those assets. Gaming parameters are specific for bond and this extra data goes to win-loss report of the player. Now the cashier is supposed to pay $5,000 in plaques. But as the plaques are still in the cage system, the balance shows $5,000 over. Let's delete the transaction and see the real-time balance coming back to zero. Let's see another example with other than balance currency USD. For example, let's proceed with Turkish lira. Now you can see the USD value of 50,000 Turkish lira as over on real-time balance, and as long as we deduct the chips paid to player from chip count, then the balance will come back to zero correctly. Forex transactions are used for any trade with a different exchange rate other than casino. In this kind of situations, cashier simply puts the value of what sold and what bought. Then the casino assist calculates the difference from this transaction and puts in the balance accurately. First, let us correct the values as the cashier sent and received. And then have a look at the consolidation how our transaction took place. Fill and credit tab is for interim fill and interim credit to live game tables. As the system knows the table currency and the denominations used in table float, it forces the cashier to proceed accordingly. Let's make a 50,000 fill to AR1 and see the effects on balance. Optionally configured, a voucher will be automatically printed to be signed by cashiers and managers as in the fill procedure. Casino Assist can also be integrated to slot systems on read-only base if the required data is provided. For cage system, only cage transactions for slot will be sufficient, that is money loaded to and redeemed from cashless cards. For full integration, player tracking data and player list with player ID numbers must also be provided. In this example, main cage did not accept any slot transaction, that's why the window is empty. Let's have a look to other tills. Almost all of this data is flowing from slot online system with all required information and taking place in the balance sheet accordingly. You can filter any data by picking up any of the transactions or texting in search box. Bill acceptor count can also be processed from Casino Assist and sent to cage digitally. Interim transfers are transferring any kind of assets between tills, depending on their requirements. Let's make an example with an amount of $2,000 and see the effects on cage system. As most of the casinos operate with multi-currency operation, exchange rate effects gain too much importance in both cage operations and all finance system. Especially if the casino has live game tables and or slot machines with more than one currency, situation becomes much more complicated. Casino Assist optionally uses local currency as reference in order to generate the rates depending on the balance currency, and most of the time, it is US dollars. When the system detects any change in exchange rates, it automatically locks the screen until the change is made is activated. When new rates are activated, system calculates all the effects of this change and locates in the balance accordingly. Normally, rates should be changed at the beginning of the day, with the same figures of yesterday's closing. So, after the value of assets are affected by the rate change, a total of same amount must be in the exchange rate difference that will maintain the balance as zero. Here, this difference is coming from today's transactions processed with previous rate. Let's go back to the same rates and see the balance will become back as zero, and also the rate change difference is disappeared from balance. Reports tab is used to have a detailed look at the transactions with player ID. You can pick any or a group of the available transactions from the list and report for a particular period of time. Double-clicking on any row will pop up the details form with the history of the shown amount with accumulated value, step by step. You can also pick a particular bunch of transactions. Those are described as the same base in admin panel. And get the report for a particular period with the picked accounts. Notes can be added and removed if necessary, and arrows will be shown to notify the users that record includes notes. Calculator tab is an assistant to cashier for complicated calculations to be fast and correct. It is also used to register the money changes on cash desk for returning the quantities back to the customer if asked. In this example, cashier receives 3 different currencies and the player is asking the total USD value of all total. And then he is asking for 3,400 in USD plaques to play, and the rest in Turkish lira. Assist calculator gives the quantities in all currencies to cashier, and the cashier can offer all the alternatives to player. This transaction can be registered to player's name and listed on Customer Forex Transactions tab for both to redeemed and information. Management may prefer to keep some quantity of chips, plaques, floats and cash in a separate place for both convenience and security reasons. So the front desk cashiers will only be responsible from the assets out of the vault and process data only for them. Floats are available only on main cage as read-only, and any change on floats can only be done from admin panel. If the casino has floats with more than one currency, then the currency box will be visible. Cash details report shows the total cash and denominations. Now, let's see table closing method. If the casino is operating with compensation system, structure will be exactly the same with table opening and closing sheet. Here, the figures in blue show the extra quantities, and the figures in red show the missing quantities to compensate. Pressing Ctrl key after focusing any table will pop up the compensation form that must 100% match with table opening and closing sheet, and no game tables must give 0 value for both credit and fill quantities. Let's change the quantities by adding 1 extra chip on a no game table and see the change on compensation form. And let's also put missing quantities to see the system for both. And the view on balance sheet. cashier can also mark the compensated tables by double-clicking on table names. So the red ones can be seen easily, those are already pending. Let's proceed with live game tables drop counting. When you click on any live game table, all the types of currencies and denominations will expand, which are configured as droppable. Let's continue to keep our balance as 0 in order to see the effects of each step. Now I have $1,000 cash and $15,000 plaque as drop for AR1. Consequently, all the table results will be calculated one by one. As I logged onto main bank for Cage transactions, I can also navigate to other tills but with read-only protocol, and I will be informed by the system which till is for data process for me. All selection brings all the tills together and gives the consolidation of casino. System informs me that at least one of the tills is not balanced. And I figure out that the difference is coming from slot cage. Now, I will log on to slot cage for data process and correct my balance. Remember that we had an interim transfer with an amount of $2,000 from main bank to slot cage. Once the interim transfer is posted from one till, it is directly inserted to other parties' balance automatically. As I know where the difference is coming from, I can correct my balance accordingly. And finally, let's close our day, till by till, and pass to next day. Main cage must be the last till to be closed. System will not let users to close the main cage before if any of the satellite tills is still on the same gaming date with main cage. If the till is not balanced, system will not let the cashier to close the day. If the source of the difference is not found, then that amount must be saved as error transaction. Now, main cage is ready to be closed. Let's have a look to main cage balance on the new day with zero movement. And let's change the rates and see the effects on zero movement balance. Please notice that even the currency value is the same, USD value changed because of the rate change effect. An automatically generated detailed report of how the values changed. That's all with Cage System, and we are going to proceed with financial platform of Casino Assist that has nothing with gaming operations. First, let's see the effects of exchange rate change on financial platform assets. As the balance is 0 for the new day, here, you can see the effects very clearly. Just like the Cage System, very clear and detailed report is generated with the values of assets, before and after the rates are changed. And now, let's go back to Cage System and set the rates to its previous values in order to follow financial transactions clearly. Meaning, without any change in exchange rates. As you can see, balance is at the new start of the day, with 0 transactions and no change in rates. As mentioned at the beginning of the video, financial platform consists of non-gaming transactions. Those are expenses, running accounts, staff advances, work advances, bank accounts, and pending payments. Thanks to Casino Assist's user-friendly structure, you can easily navigate amongst each section. Banking section can optionally be activated in case of being multi-casino and a head office operation. Those are sending funds to each other. Cash figures data process is just like as it is in the Cage Transactions platform. Any changes done in cash figures directly triggers real-time balance value in balance currency. Expenses data process is configured as main category, subcategory, and optionally detailed category. Category structure is customizable and can be configured by house. Here, 5 main categories were configured. Those are operating, staff, investment, marketing, and customer costs. When you pick any of them, subcategories are listed. Those are configured as the subcategories of the picked one. Optional detailed category box will be seen in case there is a detailed category configured linked to picked subcategory. Supplier name will be searched in all suppliers by including the partial characters entered in the search box. Here, for example, all the supplier names are listed. Those have the D, E, M expression. Let's continue to our data process by picking demo name. Quantity and currency are also required data. There are 2 saving options regarding to expense data process. It can be paid in cash, or it can be registered in pending payments to be paid in the future. Let's proceed with cash option first. Cash paid quantities window is an extra sub-report in order to show the total amount paid in cash for expenses in each currency. Let's set and correct our balance in order to have a clear view in our process. Now, another example without a detailed category and with a different currency. As you see, detailed category box is not available, because there is no detailed categories configured for the picked subcategory. Now, I have totals in 2 different currencies. If the expense is not being paid in cash, then it should be registered as payments in progress. Let's see how to proceed with that option. In this case, Save as Payment in Progress button must be clicked. A form will be pop up for the required data in order to register the quantity in the calendar as pending payment. Voucher No is the document number for the transaction that can be invoice number or any kind of document tracking code. And document type can be check, any kind of bills payable, etc. Or it can be as open account. Automatically copied explanation from data process can be left as it is, or can be changed. If there is not a pay plan or a payment calendar, then no payment plan is marked. Otherwise, pay plan data is required. Total amount can be registered as one payment or can be divided into installments in a pay plan. Let's divide our 20,000 into 2 equal installments and register the payments in coming 2 months. As long as the pay plan is saved, balance will be provided without any cash movement. Because, as one side of the transaction is registered as expense, the other side is registered as pending payment in Payments in Progress section, with all the information, such as company name, payment date, quantity, explanation, etc. When payment is done, you can simply click Done box for all amount, or enter a partial amount that will be deducted from supplier's outstanding balance. Fund transfers from Casino Cage, errors, and running accounts are registered from Transactions section. Running accounts can be described as the temporary accounts, those are not accrued yet. One typical example for running accounts is boss's or shareholder's current account. Let's make an example with account transfer from Casino Cage, that is one of the main finance transactions. As mentioned at the beginning of the video, account transfer net value must be equal on both Casino Cage and finance side in the means of paid and received quantities. That issue will also be demonstrated in this video, master report part. When we speak about running accounts, the history of the account in the timeline with its accumulated running sum gains importance. Accounts those are configured as running takes place in a special window that you can pick them and select a particular period for filtering. Please notice that they are also controlled in currency base, that you cannot proceed with any other currency than starting currency type. Here, for example, running account A is configured as USD, so currency box is locked and does not give other option other than USD. Let's enter data for running account A and see the process on filtering. When you double-click on any account, history of the account will be reported with all details, together with its accumulated running sum, in timeline. Forex transactions part is the same process as it is in Cage transactions part. To put it briefly, it is the process of money changes with a different rate other than house rate. Staff advances are the temporary accounts for the money given to staff as an advance for their salary and designed with multi-currency support. You can simply filter the transactions for balance date or any other particular period. And, by double-clicking on any name, you can see all the transactions in timeline, together with its accumulated balance value. Work advances are also temporary, open accounts that you can keep some values in for the time until the transaction is finalized. You can add any record anytime with the required information. Initially, the currency box is open, but once the user registers any transaction, system forces the user to continue with the same currency by locking currency option. And double-clicking on any record will give you all the details in timeline. Bank account section has almost the same features as staff and work advances by the means of filtering, reporting, and accumulated running sum in timeline. When Show All box is checked, you can see the current balance of bank accounts. Or you can remove the option and filter the transactions for any particular period. Principally, exchange rates are managed from Cage platform and read only to finance system. But optionally, it can also be configured to be changed from both sides. Before passing to Master Report in banking's workflow, let's have a look to our balance and see how our demo transactions took place. Just like the Cage system, you can also see here the transaction logs in detail. As banking's workflow is optional for multi-casino and head office hub operation, it will be demonstrated at the end of the video. Now, we will proceed with Master Report, or also named as Cash Flow, that is the peak report, as combination of both Casino Cage and finance platforms. Let's pick a sample period, say, the first half of September. Cash flow includes all the figures of both Casino Cage and finance platform and turns them into a multi-purpose performance report. As you can use the cash flow for many aspects, the main target of the report is to put the figures in an order, starting from income values and then deducting the out values step by step, and then see the remaining value at each step. Let's see how it flows practically. Cash flow starts with live game and slot machine results and reported as gaming win initially. If there is any transaction as income that is configured from admin panel, this value is also added to gaming win in order to calculate the total revenue. This value is supposed to be in cash, but as the gaming expenses such as discounts and complimentaries are not, then should be deducted in order to calculate net win after gaming expenses. If there are any promotions for the customers, such as extra bonus features or lotteries, then this amount is deducted from the revenue at the first step. Net credit movements, those have an effect in flowing figures, should be deducted or added in order to figure out the net cash revenue from gaming. Optionally, commissions can also be configured to be deducted separately. And then, expenses will be deducted on main category base. So you will be able to see the remaining value after each step. Same flow for the work advances and the payments in progress. And the staff advances. And then, automatically calculated rate change effects take place. Those are reported for cash and accounts separately. And remember Forex figures, those were the value differences in case when money exchanged with a different rate than house rate. Any other transactions, those are not under the title of any category. In other words, any uncategorized transactions. Here, account transfer is the brigged account between Cage and finance platforms that must be equal to each other, and our CH is the manual processed rate change difference for some reasons. Yellow highlight is the flag, meaning transactions regarding to revenues and expenses are over. And from that point, you can see the source and or the address of that highlighted figure. One issue that should be pointed out here is the outstanding USD balances of some of the accounts. Those have zero value with their original currency. As you can presume, it is coming from the changing USD value of the accounts processed with the currency other than USD. However, those differences are calculated and take place in the balance properly. If you have a look at the rate change differences regarding to bank and cumulative accounts, you can see the corresponding values. Now I see my cash flow dropped to minus values with the running accounts. Let's proceed other steps and see how it is balanced. I see plus value from bank account transactions, meaning money withdrawn from bank and increased my cash quantity in-house. And finally, I have plus missing chip value, meaning I am supposed to keep the money of those chips in my cage, regardless from my received and paid transactions. At the end, I figure out how my cash quantity should be affected from all those transactions. And I expect the same difference to be in physically counted cash value at the beginning and the end of my report period. The other checkpoint is net received and paid quantities of account transfer transactions that will be visible in red in case of difference. That is the end of cash flow. After that point, expenses will be listed for the selected period in main and subcategories just for information. In case of the company is operating multi-casinos with head office connection, banking system of Casino Assist may be very useful. If the transfers were only between casinos and head office, that would be easy to track. But, most of the time, this is not the situation. Let's make a simulation with very possible sample situations. Let's suppose Casino 3 has a pending payment for a slot machine company but short in cash. And Casino 7 has excess money that can cover the payment and paid. One of the players won and deposited the money in Casino 8. And the same player goes to Casino 5 to use his deposited money. Casino 4 needs money for new investment, and Casino 1 is available to send. One of the managers was transferred from Casino 6 to Casino 4. And he has an outstanding balance from Casino 6 to be paid. And much more examples can be given. The nature of this process is already very complicated. Moreover, those transfers will probably be in different currencies. Casino Assist solves this complicated situation by centralizing those transfers at head office. When banking system is activated, locations other than head office are not allowed to transfer money to other locations. In other words, casinos' finance platforms can make the transfer to only head office. Once the transaction is triggered from one location, that transaction will be pending on the banking system till the head office confirms and takes the transaction on its own balance. If the physical money was transferred to another location, then the head office, first, accepts the transfer and takes the transaction, and then forwards it to other location. On this step, that transaction will be pending on the list of the other location until it is confirmed and included its own balance. To summarize, transactions will be pending on the dashboard of banking system, and as long as they physically arrive their destination, then will be picked and removed from the list as confirmed. So, both parties will be informed that transfer has arrived or not. All regarding to Casino Assist's cage and financial platforms. Thanks for watching.